Welcome everyone to TWB Talks. I'm your host TWB. This week we continue our look at the NFL playoffs as now we've moved on to the divisional round. 8 teams remain and let's get right into it. Let's break down those divisional round matchups. Our first divisional round matchup of the weekend takes us to Kansas City as the Chiefs host the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Chiefs have won 5 in a row and should be well rested as they had a bye last week. Jacksonville's won 6 in a row, including last week's playoff win over the Chargers. The Chiefs have been dominant all year on offense. They have the league's top scoring offense and the league's top passing offense. And that's without superstar wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who they lost to the Dolphins in the offseason. But it's mainly due to Patrick Mahomes playing like the MVP of the league, 41 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions. He's played sensational this year. However, the Chiefs' defense might keep Jacksonville alive in this game. In 2 out of the 3 Chiefs' losses, they've given up over 400 yards. For Jacksonville, they're coming off a huge comeback win last week. They were down 27-0 at halftime to the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence, he threw 4 interceptions. But then he starts thinking about Waffle House after the game. Turns into the Waffle House Warrior. Ends up with 4 passing touchdowns. The Jaguars go on and win the game on a late field goal. 31-30, Jacksonville advances. However, for Jacksonville to have a shot in this game, they cannot find themselves in a hole at halftime. They will have to go shot for shot with this high-powered Chiefs offense, and with both defenses giving up plenty of yards through the air, this game could turn into a shootout. In fact, this game reminds me of like a pride of lions. The Chiefs, they're that old, veteran lion. They're on top of the mountain. They've won that championship before. And the Jaguars, they're that young, hungry lion. They want to get to the top of the mountain. But I don't think they're ready yet. I think the Chiefs pull this one out, as Mahomes might be too much for this Jags secondary. Our next divisional round matchup takes us to the NFC and to Philadelphia, as the Eagles host the New York Giants. The Eagles are coming off a Week 18 win over the Giants' backups, and should be rested as they had a bye week last week. The Giants, however, last week had a huge playoff win in an upset against the Minnesota Vikings. The Eagles have been dominant offensively this year, and before he got injured, Jalen Hurts looked like a safe bet for MVP. However, the strength of this team is on the defensive side of the ball. They don't get thrown on, and they don't give up a lot of yards. In fact, this Eagles team sacked the quarterback 70 times this year. The next closest team was at 55. As for the Giants, they have a scrappy, ground-and-pound offense, but last week against the Vikings proved that they could throw the ball as Daniel Jones threw for over 300 yards. Jones will have to play almost identical to that performance last week if they hope to pull off an upset this week. The Giants must also continue to play through Saquon Barkley, as if that Eagles defense does have a weakness, it would be on the ground. Overall, though, I think the Giants have been successful, and Brian Daboll should win Coach of the Year. But I think the Eagles are going to fix Daniel Jones and the Giants a nice sack lunch. They might even throw in a juice box as they send them back home to New York. Our next divisional round matchup takes us to the AFC and to Buffalo as the Bills take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bills have won 8 games in a row, while the Bengals have won 9 games in a row. Both teams were victorious in their playoff matchups last week, but quite frankly struggled against teams that they should have ran over. Josh Allen had 3 turnovers that kept a Miami team in the game until the very end, and that team had no offensive production behind third-string quarterback Skylar Thompson. The highly productive Bengals offense didn't even produce 250 yards against a Ravens team that was missing their star player in Lamar Jackson. The Bills have had the better defense and ground attack all year, but this game could come down to which quarterback can simply will their team to victory in the end. Burrow's Bengals are the reigning AFC champions, and if Allen's turnover problem continues, Cincinnati will advance. However, I believe due to the Bengals now missing their starting left tackle and right guard for this game, the Bengals won't be able to protect Burrow, and the Bills will punch their ticket to the conference championship. Our final divisional round matchup of the weekend takes us back to the NFC and to San Francisco as the San Francisco 49ers host the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers have won 11 games in a row and are coming off a playoff win over Seattle last week. Dallas overcame some playoff demons last week and eliminated Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brock Purdy is 6-0 as a starter in San Francisco and has all kinds of weapons around him. Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk, just to name a few. The 49ers defense has been dominant and physical all year, but has shown some cracks in recent weeks. They've given up points and yards through the air in the last 5 weeks. They're last in both those categories. Brock Purdy has been great and threw for 330 yards last week, but he was mainly throwing to wide open targets against Seattle. In my opinion, this Dallas defense will give him his first competitive challenge. Dallas looked great last week as Dak Prescott arguably had the greatest game of his career. Dallas was bullied by the 49ers last year in the playoffs, but I don't see that happening here. Michael Irvin gave a great analogy for this game, comparing it to Rocky versus Drago. The 49ers look like a well-oiled, unbeatable machine, like Drago, while the Cowboys are Rocky, the underdog just looking to prove that Drago is human. If the Cowboys' defense can create pressure on Purdy and make him play more like Brock Ugly, I believe Prescott can put up another playoff performance like last week, and the Cowboys pull off an upset against an old rival on the road. That concludes our breakdown of the divisional round. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content like this. As always, I'll see you next time, and be sure to join me next week as I cover the conference championships. Take care.